Yo, what's good everyone? Thank you for tuning in to today's video. As you can see from the title, it is that time of the year again, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at my top 10 sneaker pickups for all of 2021. Now this year has been absolutely incredible for me, I'm going to be completely honest. I've bought more shoes this year than in the last 10 years combined. It has been incredible, it's been immense. We've picked up some incredible grails, some maybe underrated gems in my personal opinion, and also some of my personal favourite releases just from the entire year. So I'm really excited to be doing this video for you guys now. But before we go ahead and actually dive into the video itself, I am hoping to get this video out before Christmas. So if I am successful, I want to wish everybody who has tuned in to today's video a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And now we got all those formalities out of the way, sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and get straight into this video.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas!
So before we actually jump into the official top 10 list, or whatever you want to call it, I did actually want to show you guys two of my favourite pickups from this year. Now, they are grails to me, they are shoes that I've been chasing for years, and a lot of you guys that are watching this video will already know what that is, and already know what these shoes are. I did actually include them in a video just after my daughter was born, and these are two shoes that would absolutely be the top 1 and 2 in this list had they actually released this year. But when I was actually doing this list, I decided not to include any shoes that didn't actually release in 2021 because this is top 10 for 2021. But these are two shoes that I did actually pick up this year. Now, the first one is the Air Jordan 6 Infrared, an absolute grail for me. I've already gone through time and time again why this shoe is so sentimental to me, so I'm not going to go through that and bore you guys again. But getting this shoe was absolutely incredible. You know, honestly, made up to still have it. I've worn it a couple of times, not sure if you'll be able to see a little bit of yellowing on the outsole, but this shoe is definitely going to be with me until the day I die. It's an absolutely beautiful shoe. If this does ever re-retro, which it probably will in a few years, I'll definitely be getting more and more pairs. This shoe for me is just absolutely incredible and one I'm really glad to have in the collection. And the same can be said with the Air Jordan 3 Black Cement. This shoe for me is hands down the best shoe in my collection, regardless of what comes in the future, regardless of what price I pay. The sentimentality of this shoe just means that this will always be my favourite shoe in the collection. I wore this to bring my daughter home this year, and it's just forever going to be the best shoe in my collection. So these are two shoes that would have definitely been number 1 and number 2 on the list, but because they didn't release this year, they're not officially on the list, but definitely two shoes that I had to show you guys for this video. So now that's out of the way, just jumping straight into this list, starting in at number 10. And at number 10, we have the Nike Air Up-Tempo in its black and white colorway. Now this shoe for me was definitely a shoe that I just had to grab, and just a little bit of like a backstory on the Up-Tempo for me. It was actually the very first pair of basketball sneakers I've ever owned. My sister actually bought them for me like 2016, 2017-ish, and it was the red and white colorway. I absolutely love that shoe. I absolutely destroyed it. I wore it everywhere, and it was my pride and joy. It was the shoe in my collection. At the time, I honestly couldn't afford to go out and buy a bunch of shoes, so when my sister bought me those, I remember sitting in Foot Asylum, lacing them up for the first time, and I was over the moon. So as soon as I saw these, I knew I had to grab them. I think I actually got these just before the documentary came out as well, so a little bit of hype was coming back with the Up-Tempo, but that seems to have died down quite a lot here in the UK again. Prices were going up a little bit. I actually managed to get these from Foot Locker, I think for like £20 or even £10 under retail. So for me, a super steal, a super clean colourway, an absolute classic. And yeah, in at number 10, Nike Air Up-Tempo. Moving on to the next one. So moving on to number 9 on our list, we have the return of a classic. Next up, we have the Lebron 8 in the South Beach colourway. An absolutely classic colourway from the Lebron line. Probably the best LeBron sneaker of all time, let's be completely honest. That's my personal opinion anyway. I absolutely love LeBron as a person, as a basketballer. I don't necessarily love all of his shoes, I'm going to be completely honest. You know, I'm kind of venturing out from the 8. I have a few pairs in the collection currently. This is by far the best and will probably be the best LeBron sneaker I will ever own. Unless he comes out with something completely crazy down the line. There's just something about this shoe, the colours, the mix of turquoise, I think, or blue, whatever you want to call it. The hit of pink. Everything about this shoe just screams summer. I haven't worn it yet, unfortunately, which is it's not ideal, but you know, there's a lot of shoes on this list that, you know, I have worn, so I'm not feeling too bad about it. This is definitely a shoe I'm hoping to rock quite a lot next year. They're not necessarily the most comfortable shoes in my personal opinion, and it will take some breaking in time, but this is definitely a shoe I had to have. I did actually manage to get a pair of these originally from End, which was a complete surprise. Never really happens for me. That shoe didn't fit, and I then managed to hit on 7 stores, so this is actually the second pair of South Beaches that I've had. But definitely a shoe that will forever remain in this collection. Definitely not a shoe that I'm ever looking to sell. And in at number 9, we have the Lebron 8 South Beach. Now, next up on our list, we actually have a shoe that I said earlier in the year wouldn't be making my top 10. Absolute no consistency over here. In at number 8, we have the Jordan 4 Lightnings. Now, for most people, this was a shoe that you either copped or you didn't. It didn't seem like there was much fanfare about this shoe. That probably had a lot to do with when the shoe initially released for the first time, which was Sneakers Day. Let's not touch on that. And I think maybe that's put some people off. It didn't put me off. I'm just not the biggest Jordan 4 fan in general. A lot of people know that. I'm constantly whinging about different things about the Jordan 4, whether it be sizing, colorways, anything like that. But there's something about this one, I just had to have it. The colorway is absolutely beautiful. It's a bit gaudy, it's a bit loud, which is what I actually like. I like a lot of loud shoes because a lot of the clothes I wear, basic colors like grays, blacks. So having a contrasting shoe like this is just an absolute necessity for my collection. Like I say, this is kind of reinvigorating my love for the Jordan 4. I had a few pairs, I sold a few pairs, and this is the only pair in my collection currently. It's a beautiful colorway, it's a return of another classic, and it was just one of those shoes I just had to have. My missus actually got it before me, and I think that definitely sparked my interest, so very glad that she went for her pair, because maybe without her getting it, I might not have. But yeah, definitely a deserving shoe for this list. An absolutely beautiful colorway. So in at number 8, we have the Air Jordan 4 Lightning. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list. This is actually a shoe that I have to give a huge shout out to Sneaker Adjusty for, because without him, I definitely wouldn't have picked up this shoe. So next up, we have the Nike Air BW in the Persian Violet colorway. Now, this is the very first pair of BWs I've ever owned. I know this is massive in the UK, various different places, but in Preston, honestly, I've never seen this shoe other than very, very few times. It just wasn't the shoe that people went for. A lot of people where I live went for the 90s, the 95, the TNs, and BWs just wasn't really a big thing when I was coming up. But when I saw that Sneaker Adjusty grabbed these, they immediately pulled me in. This colorway is absolutely beautiful. So much so that when they did other colorways on the 95 and on the 90, I had to grab them. I've since let both of those colorways go because I absolutely love this one. I haven't really had the opportunity to wear as much as I would have liked. I think I've worn this maybe 2 or 3 times, which is still quite a lot considering the amount of shoes I have in my collection and the amount I rotate them in and out. But this was definitely a must-cop for me. It was the start of a love affair again, but this time with the BW. When they released the City Pack, I went for all of them and got none of them, which is just pretty typical.
You're goddamn right.
But very glad to have this one in the collection. Very nice, very versatile shoe. Definitely an everyday type of vibe in comparison to the other shoes we've currently seen. I kind of figured this might come in a little bit higher, but I think this is probably a good place for it. So in at number 7, we have the Nike Air BW Persian Violet. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list. Next up, we have the Air Jordan 5 Raging Bulls. Now, this shoe actually didn't get a review, unfortunately. Around the time this shoe actually released, my daughter was born. And by the time I actually got around to actually getting the shoe and getting home, and my daughter was, getting home for the first time, I just really didn't have the energy to do the review. I'm a little bit gutted that I didn't, even though it'd only been a couple of weeks since the shoe had released, because I genuinely would love to have this on the channel just as a video. The way I look at my channel a lot is kind of like a visual diary of all the shoes I've had in my collection, shoes that maybe I have liked at one point and then my opinions have changed, and it is just good to look back and see that initial reaction and how you initially respond to a shoe to see how that develops over time. That's personally how I look at it, and it's just really good to have that. Unfortunately, I will never have that with the Raging Bulls, but this is genuinely a grail for me, and I said that when I did my £1,000 unboxing, that this is probably one of the very first pair of Air Jordan 5s or even Air Jordans that I ever really noticed. I kind of did a little bit of research before I started buying, and this shoe was just on a lot of the blogs, on a lot of the posts that I was reading. And as soon as I saw it, I absolutely love the colour red, Liverpool fan. So this for me was an absolute must cop. It's a classic. Once again, another really great colourway returning. It's not an OG colorway for anyone who's wondering, but to me, kind of like some other shoes on this list, it definitely has that feel of an OG. It's absolutely beautiful. As you can see, I've worn it a couple of times. Definitely will be wearing this shoe a heck of a lot more next year. In at number 6, we have the Air Jordan 5 Raging Bulls. So now we've got the first 5 out of the way, we're really starting to get into the heavy hitters category. And in at number 5, we have a recent collaboration. It's between Nike and Pata for the Irmax 1 Monarch. This for me is by far the best colorway of the 4. This is coincidentally the only colorway I currently have of all 4. I did recently actually return my maroons. It just wasn't a shoe for me, a shoe that I actually needed or even wanted. Closely followed by the Aquas, I would say that this shoe is up there with the Aquas or the Aquas with the Monarchs, because for me it goes Monarchs, Aquas, the black colorway, then the maroons. But this for me is absolutely incredible. I was so glad to get it for retail off Sneakers. I mean, couldn't believe it then, still can't believe it now, and this is genuinely an absolutely beautiful shoe that I am treasuring in my collection. I haven't worn it yet, and there's a couple of reasons as to why that is. You know, time of year, dress sense, not really knowing where to go. Because I'm working from home, I haven't had the chance to break these out, but everything about this shoe is a 10 out of 10. Maybe I said 9 out of 10 in the review or 8 out of 10, but now 10 out of 10, it's grown on me even more. An absolutely beautiful shoe, deserving of its place on the list. Gutted it's not a little bit higher, but some of the other pairs, in my personal opinion, are better. So in at number 5, we have the Pata Irmax 1 Monarch. Ooh, I like how I said that. Monarch. So moving on swiftly, in at number 4, we have the Yeezy 700 in the Wave Runner colorway. Once again, another grail for this list, and another shoe that I just had to have when it restocked this year. I almost didn't include it in the list like the Black Cements as well as the Infrareds, because it didn't actually release officially this year. It was more of a restock. But because it actually had a restock, I felt like I could just sneak it in. When this shoe released, initially, I didn't even like it. I'm going to be completely honest. One of my friends had it. I completely just ripped into him about this shoe. And believe it or not, a couple of years down the road, this is one of the best shoes that I've picked up this year. Swings and roundabouts, really is one of those things. You know, the opinion of a sneakerhead changes from week to week. So a shoe that you might hate 6 months down the line, you end up wearing it. It's just one of those things.
It's true.
And this shoe is by no means any different. I was actually really stressed trying to get this shoe. I remember I was leaving the office, it was dark out, it was cold, and the way Confirmed that works is they have like a little drawer that runs right the way across the screen, and mine just wasn't moving. So that pretty much gives you an indication as to whether you are or will not win, pretty much. And I saw that other people were actually posting their wins on Instagram, and I was getting even more and more stressed out that just mine wasn't moving. So I took to Instagram to earn my displeasure, you might say, and actually posted a message to Kanye West as well as to Adidas. And within 30 seconds of pressing send, wouldn't you believe it, I got the confirmed notification that this shoe was mine. I immediately took that down, and very thankful that I did. Probably wouldn't have affected me getting the shoe, but there was by no means I wanted to risk it, because this shoe just had to come back to my collection. I've actually worn this shoe a couple of times recently, and I do actually need to clean the outsole because I did actually wear these today. But it is a grail for me. It's a beautiful shoe, something I am 100% just going to continue to wear, run it into the ground, and just appreciate it as much as I can do. This for me is definitely one of my favourite pickups, not even just from this year, but just in general. So in at number 4, we have the Yeezy 700 Wave Runner. So we're closing in on that number 1 spot, but in at number 3, we have what could potentially be a controversial shoe. It is the Air Jordan 6 Travis Scott in the British khaki colorway. Now this shoe for me definitely is deserving of maybe even a higher spot on the list. When I first got this shoe, got it in from StockX, I immediately had this down as my number 1 shoe for the year. But the 6 months that have passed since I've had it, I haven't loved it any less, but I think I have loved other shoes more. And that's why it is coming in at number 3. It is an absolutely beautiful shoe for me. You know, if you know me, you know I'm really not a big fan of Travis Scott in general. So I don't have any of his merch, his music, or any of his other collaborations, like in terms of shoes. But this one, there was something about it that, I don't know what it is. It's just absolutely beautiful. The mixture of materials, the hits of infrared, the glow in the dark, as a lot of people will know, is a big, big thing for me. So all of these factors just really kind of pulled into one and just made this shoe absolutely incredible. I pretty much have a rule that I won't pay resale unless I absolutely have to. And I paid a pretty penny for these. Like, to put into context, I paid more for this shoe than I did for the infrared sixes as well as the black cements. I don't regret it by any means because this is an absolutely beautiful shoe. I have worn it, I think, maybe 3, 4, 5 times, but I've cleaned it up pretty well. Shout outs to the Rejuvenator. Definitely is still a 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely love this shoe. Very, very, very glad to have it in the collection. And also very glad that Missy didn't kill me when she saw the price of these because she wasn't happy. I'm not even going to lie. So in at number 3, we have the Travis Scott 6s in the British khaki colourway. Now, next up at number 2, we actually have a shoe that we've only just reviewed. Pretty sure that rhymes. Maybe. Now, in at number 2, we have the Air Jordan 11 Cool Greys. And if you haven't seen my review on it, I will make sure to leave a link in my description area below, as well as a link at the top of this video if you do want to check it out. I expect that most people have seen this shoe countless times, whether it be at pickups or vlogs or reviews or whatever, wherever. This shoe has been everywhere. But for me, this shoe deserves to be talked about as much as it is. I know this is a massive GR. I know they made millions of pairs or 1 million pairs. It doesn't take anything away from me. The craftsmanship, the quality, the colorway, everything about this shoe was executed perfectly. I had to have it. I'm glad to have it. And it is just one of my favorite releases of the year. As I'm looking at all these different shoes, they're all kind of like evoking different emotions in me and the reasons as to why that I love them so much. I can't quite put my finger on why this is the way it is for me or why I love it as much as I do. I think it is just one of those shoes that you just see it and you just have to have it. It's as simple as that. I am starting to develop a massive love for the Air Jordan 11. I have a couple of pairs in the collection and I'm not looking to pay resale to grow my collection wildly. I'm kind of just doing it organically, and having these coming out once a year, every Christmas, it has me looking forward to Christmas as much as I do because I've got kids and I look forward to Christmas for them. But this is kind of like adult Christmas for me, knowing that this is coming once a year. It's just absolutely love it. Definitely brings that festive vibe and gives you that really nice Christmassy feel. So in at number 2, we have the Air Jordan 11 Cool Grey. So here we are, we've reached number 1, my favourite pickup for all of 2021. We've seen a lot of incredible shoes this year, and this one is definitely my personal favourite out of all the shoes that I've released this year. Next up, we have the Air Jordan 6 Carmine. Now this shoe for me was an absolute must cop at the time when it released. There were lots of different reasons as to why I wanted this. I'm not going to go through them all. I will just leave you the link to the video if you want to see that. But for me, the reason this is the number 1 pickup is this was the very first shoe that my whole family and I wore at the exact same time. I got pairs for both of my sons, my daughter, as well as my missus as well. And seeing all 5 of us doing the sneaker wheels or doing like sneaker pictures or just going out for general walks all wearing our Carmines, it just definitely made this shoe an absolute, like, it's kind of like it's just in there now. It's in my heart. I'll absolutely love this shoe forever. And whilst mine is probably the only wearable one of everybody else's, they pretty much just dogged all of their pairs, which to be honest, I'm really happy about. I'm getting my money's worth technically. They're wearing the pairs as often as they are. But for me, this is definitely a shoe I'm going to treasure. I have worn this a few times, and unfortunately, when I did actually wear them, I actually went to get my vaccine, and I actually stood on a freshly cemented road, and it's kind of, I think I got some hot coals, and it's kind of like singed or burnt the outsole. I'm actually considering picking up a second pair and just completely destroying this, and just letting them go, like, my kids have, and just completely destroying them, so having one to rock, one to stock. So if I do come across another pair of these, I definitely will look to pick those up. But for me, this is definitely deserving of it, the number 1 place on my list. So in at number 1, we have the Air Jordan 6 Carmine. So that just about does it for this video. That was my top 10 sneaker pickups for all of 2021. I'd love to hear what yours are, and I'd also love to hear your opinions of all the shoes that I picked up this year. Was the list wrong? Would you have done it in a different order? Or maybe, you're not really liking some of the shoes in this list. Whatever your thoughts and whatever your opinions are, do leave them in the comment section below. Always love to hear from you guys. If you have stuck around to this point in the video, I do want to say a massive thank you. If you haven't already, please feel free to smash that subscribe button. Also, do make sure the bell notification is switched on so you never miss a video. And I hope to see you all again in the next one. Merry Christmas.